A new GPU crushes the 5090 by up to 13 times, and it's actually made for gaming. This one is huge. But before I get to that, a new Windows update has a big problem, and Nvidia's new flagship gaming GPU gets benchmarked. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. This video is sponsored by Ugreen. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, a new update from Microsoft is apparently causing SSD failures. So this is no joke. As you can see right down here, it says Microsoft's latest security update for Windows 11 is allegedly causing SSD failures during heavy file transfers. What's wild is that this issue was originally reported by an ex-user who was updating Cyberpunk 2077 on a system running Windows 11 24H2 with this update installed. It says when the SSD on which the game was installed disappeared from the operating system. An investigation by the user revealed a potential bug that appears during continuous file transfers on certain storage devices, particularly when the transfer exceeds 50 gigabytes, i.e. downloading or, well, more than likely installing a game, but as well as when the drive is over 60% full. And of course, as gamers, probably a lot of us have our drives 60% or more full given the insane amount of storage required for games today, and obviously exceeding 50 gigabytes isn't going to be all that hard either. It says in these cases the SSD, and I'm also hearing some people are also having this issue with HDDs, though it's mostly SSDs, but they can sometimes disappear from within the operating system. Now, as it states here, restarting does fix this, but not in every case. Some, they aren't even able to see it in the operating system after a reboot, so I'm not really sure if this is causing major damage or what. I will say that we are actually seeing some where it is corrupting files, so this really is a major problem. And not only that, but even if it does appear again when you restart, you can see here that it says the issue seems to occur again as soon as a large data transfer is performed again. Moving on, it says that it was earlier reported that the issue lies within how SSDs handle cache, especially DRAM-less models equipped with Phison NAND controllers, but it turns out the problem isn't confined to those types of drives. A series of tests was carried out to establish a scope of the problem, which included copying Cyberpunk's Steam library folder to the drive, preparing a compressed file archive, and then copying the expanded archive into the target storage. You can see out of the 21 drives tested, it was found that 12 of them became inaccessible, but there was one that was not able to be recovered by a reboot. So, like I said, this really is a major issue, not to mention problems with data corruption. Basically, if you have critical data on your PC, you may want to hold off on transferring large files. Hopefully Microsoft can send out a fix soon. Next up, I've got the solution so you never run out of power while on the go again. Ugreen's awesome new Nexo 300 watt power bank. This bad boy comes with an unbelievable 48,000 milliamp hour capacity, which means you can fully charge an iPhone 15 Pro up to 9.6 times or a 15-inch MacBook Air twice, all with one charge of the power bank. As the name suggests, it comes with a maximum total output of 300 watts with up to 140 watts via a single USB-C port. So with its 3 USB-C ports and 2 USB-A ports, you can charge up to 5 devices at once. To top it all off, this beast has this awesome LED display, so you know what's going on at all times, a nice carrying handle, and a built-in LED light. Not to mention its automotive-grade LiPo4 battery, which means it keeps over 80% capacity after a whopping 3,000 cycles. Basically, this bad boy is awesome. And when you visit my link in the description, my viewers will get a whopping 29% off your own 300 watt beast. So click that link now before they're gone. And next up for today, Nvidia's new China-only flagship, the 5090D V2, I still much prefer Double D, is finally here. And we actually have benchmarks. Don't forget that this revised version changes a few specs to comply with the US's updated export restrictions. Specifically, Nvidia lowered the total GDDR7 memory to 24 gigabytes instead of 32, and they included a 384-bit bus instead of 512. So how much does a 33% 30% memory bandwidth reduction impact performance of Nvidia's new GPU? Well, surprisingly, not by all that much. As you can see right down here, according to new benchmarks from Inno3D, when compared to the original 5090D, there isn't too much of a difference here. We're talking a couple percentage points here and there, but overall not anything to worry too much about, whether you're looking at 4K or even 1440p. Don't get me wrong, every little bit counts of course, but this really is surprising just how good it does. I mean, this is a big drop in bandwidth, which ultimately makes me wonder if it's wasted on the regular 5090. Don't forget that the 5090 and 5090D are largely the same other than some AI top performance. At the end of the day, I would suggest waiting for third-party reviews, but so far, this is good news for anyone in China hoping to buy Nvidia's new card. And lastly for today, both Nvidia and AMD could be in big trouble very soon, as a gaming GPU is coming to the market with up to 13 times faster performance than Nvidia's own RTX 5090. Back in March, I actually covered a story about this new GPU competitor when it was first announced. That company is called Bolt Graphics, and their new GPUs are called Zeus. Well, I got a chance to speak with the company about those upcoming cards, and let's just say gamers should be very excited. As a quick recap, remember that Zeus is a series of multi-chiplet GPUs that scale up performance by adding more chiplets, similar to AMD's Zen CPU architecture. There are 4 different SKUs with up to 4 chiplets with this model right here, and it gets a whopping 512 megabytes of on-chip cache, as well as 256 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory. I mean, these are some monster chips. But given those specs, you would assume that they were made specifically for AI. And that's actually a big misconception that Bolt Graphics cleared up for me. According to the CMO and creative director at Bolt, Jill Mueller, they are, quote, focusing on rendering, gaming, and HPC first. AI is not one of our main focuses at the moment. So this is not yet another AI chip startup. This is a team that is very much focused on aspects like gaming, so much so that they confirmed to be working with multiple game studios and publishers on optimizing for Zeus. And of course, we've seen the massive challenge that even a huge company like Intel has had when optimizing drivers for games. But Zeus has something that Intel doesn't, and that's a new ground-up RISC-V based architecture made specifically for path tracing. Now, I'll get to the implications of this with gaming, but as of right now, we have this unbelievable chart, which claims that Zeus's 4-chiplet GPU is up to a whopping 13 times faster than Nvidia's RTX 5090 in path tracing. And even their single chiplet base model is over 3 times faster than the 5090. So these are massive numbers, and they are in actual rendering scenarios. This isn't some synthetic benchmark cooked up by Bolt or anything like that. And they've actually had multiple public demos. You can see some of that right here. There is one caveat. While they were rendering the same exact scene, according to Bolt, Zeus was using their own renderer called Glowstick, while AMD and Nvidia were using Blender. So it isn't a perfect comparison, and software optimization can make a big difference, but given they did render the same scene like they claim, it's still very impressive. Not only that, but it's at least somewhat understandable why they might need to make something like this, given it's such a different architecture. Now, when it comes to gaming, obviously path tracing isn't the only performance metric, but it's become pretty clear that the industry is moving further and further into that direction. For now, the typical raster performance is based on FP32 compute, which Zeus isn't the best at. But as more and more games use more and more ray tracing, it could end up decimating even Nvidia's best GPU. So Zeus is definitely something to look out for, though we'll have to wait and see how the actual performance difference is with the same software. Then again, if they can get even a fraction of those gains by optimizing games, we could have an absolute monster on our hands.